Mr. Matt Hayes. Can you break that down for us? Tragic, wasn't it?
Oh, it's just I don't know how this is happening to us. Like it's it's the exact same as what we saw against Brighton on Sunday. It's the exact same as what we saw against Liverpool on last Thursday. And I'm sure there are plenty of videos out there of people saying the exact same things that are completely 100% relevant tonight, because it's just the exact same problems. It's the players not playing for the badge. It's the subs from Jose confusing me. It's the tactics that clearly aren't working. The players that can't implement those tactics. It's just the exact same stuff again, and it's baffling.
Yeah, I mean, what are the tactics at the moment?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I suppose if you ask Jose that question, he'd probably say you don't deserve to know the answer with the way he's gone on his post-match interviews tonight. I saw some Twitter page that breaks these games down tactically, and they said Spurs settle into their low block in the 7th minute. The 7th minute of a home game, and we're sitting back, we're parking the bus. Now I'm all for that side of play when it's working, or when there are players on the pitch who are willing to break in that transition and are putting in the effort to get forward. I don't know how many times we saw tonight Son getting the ball in the middle of the park. That was in Ndombele once or twice, Vinicius, and there was just no runners. Davis isn't going to be the man running forward. Sissoko honestly looked like he would rather be anywhere else tonight. And I mean anywhere else than be on that pitch. Aurier, I'm not sure what he was doing, because when we were attacking, he wasn't there. But then when we got counter-attacked, he also wasn't there. I don't know what he was doing. It was Oliver Oil, I think, was the worst defender there. And I think Dyer and Davis will get, not scapegoated, but we'll get a lot of that blame tonight, because I don't know how many times Oliver Oil was dragged out of position and Dyer and Davis had to come across and cover for them. And fair play to Chelsea. Their tactics, they put Werner and Hudson-Odoi right onto our two centre-backs. That Alonso and Reece James really advanced as well. And Mason Mount was just picking up whatever pocket of space that appeared. And he was running Højbjerg ragged in that first half, especially. If Højbjerg dropped into it was almost a back five at some times. Højbjerg dropped in there between Dyer and Davis. Mount picked up the space ahead of the defence. And when Højbjerg came out and matched him, Mount was making that late run in. And we just couldn't deal with that. And if we're going to be a defensive team, if we're going to be a team that want to win trophies by grinding out these 1-0 wins, we apparently have a manager who's one of the best tacticians in world football, especially when it's defensively. We have to sort that stuff out, and we couldn't.
Yeah, this is why I'm not believing in this idea that Mourinho is the man for us, because I mean, surely the one thing he brings is to shut up shop and make things defensive and keep things tight when you're playing that low block. But I haven't seen anything that's served up any kind of defensive display this season. It's looked so, the leakiest I've seen us for years. Actually, it's the first time we've lost 3 in a row since 2012. We've probably given up the most points from leading positions this season. We're just looking really stale. We're just looking limp. There's no spirit to the team. I mean, what can you say about this team? I mean, what is there around the corner?
There's more of these exact same conversations. We're just wondering how the hell things are going this wrong. People have been asking the question for a while, and I think making a good point that it does seem as though Jose has lost the dressing room, so that the players don't trust Jose anymore. But I saw a fantastic comment in my live stream for the game, and one of my channel members said, well, Jose doesn't trust the players anymore either. And I do think that is exactly it. And it comes back to that game against West Ham when we threw away that 3-0 lead. I think right there and then Jose realised this team is not good enough to play this expansive football that he tried to bring into Spurs. Let's not forget that. At the start of the season, we were playing really, really attacking football. But it was that game against West Ham, I think he realised the defence isn't good enough for that. We can't play a high line. We can't play attacking football. Because if we're going to park 8 men behind the ball and we still can't keep a clean sheet, there's no chance in hell that's going to happen when it's Oliver Oil and Dyer, the only 2 men back there. And as much criticism as Jose deserves for playing the exact same thing week in, week out without changing, there's not much else he can do. But he does need to try something different. And I've been calling for Dele Alli over the last couple of months, and thankfully it does look like we will see him. But as much as I do like Dele Alli, it's also just to have something different, to try something different. We've lost 5 of our last 9 Premier League games. Something isn't working. And one of the few things that he hasn't tried yet this season, bar putting Jaffa Tanganga at the back, is putting Dele Alli in the middle of the park. And thankfully, he said, he thinks Ndombele is fit enough now to play in that double pivot. So if we can have Højbjerg and Ndombele sitting deep, get Sissoko out of there. And I didn't think I'd be saying that a month and a half ago, but he did not care tonight. He did not care against Brighton on Sunday. And get Dele Alli in those spaces. He's not going to be the replacement for Kane, in that you can put Kane back on the last man and have Dele Alli picking up the pieces from deep. But he can be that perfect link-up, that he can be that man running beyond Kane as Kane is dropping deep as well. Because when he was at his best, it was Dele Alli making those late runs in, and it was Christian Eriksen out in the wing whipping the balls in, and Dele Alli making those late runs. It's where he is best, and it's where we need him right now. And that is something that Jose just needs to try and give it a go. I'm at the stage where I'm always calling for Dane Scarlett to play against West Brom on Sunday. I'm a fan of Vinicius. I've been an advocate for him to start tonight. I thought he should have started against Brighton on Sunday as well. But he hasn't done enough to show that he deserves to be in the team. Any striker worth any amount of money puts that header away in the 87th minute. if we're really considering paying £40 million for a striker who missed that header, I'd be asking a lot of questions. It's the same scouting team who almost went in and paying £50 million for Jedson Fernandez.
Yeah, but I totally agree. I just think though the main issue with the team at the moment is just the whole philosophy is just, it looks like it's like a funeral. And I said that on the last call, and that's where it all comes from, And I just think if you play Ali, to me, I don't think it's going to make a difference. It's like adding a cherry to a shit sandwich. It might add a little bit of sweetness. It might, make it look a little bit better. But at the same time, it's the whole sandwich that's wrong. It's the whole system that's wrong. It's the whole philosophy that's wrong. And I just don't think you can replace part by part and hope that it's going to change everything. But I would like to see that just to give it a go. Then why not? You know what I mean?
Nothing to lose at this stage.
We've got nothing to lose at this point, definitely. It's depressing, isn't it? It's really depressing because, like you said, that West Ham game, things were looking really good. And we're pressing in those games as well. If you look at the Man United game, it all came from press. The Aurier goal, press. When I think Harry Kane scored, he won the ball high up, press. Now we're just sitting so far deep. I think we had 20% possession at one point in the first half at home. It's just awful. And we just couldn't move the ball through the midfield when Sissoko and Aurier were picking up the ball. You're just thinking they just look like a dog chasing a beach ball, whereas they were working the ball with nice little triangles. And it was just like, what is going on? What's happened to us,
Yeah, it's baffling. Like, I will reiterate, when we have 20% possession, it's fine if we're winning games. We probably had those same numbers against Manchester City, and I absolutely loved every second of it. But you need, I saw a tweet a while ago, it's like the two things you need in this Jose Mourinho style of play is a defense, a solid defense, and an attack that can put away their chances. Right now, we have neither of those. We honestly have neither of those. And Sissoko, awful today. And Dembele, I think, tried to overcomplicate things at times. Højbjerg deserves the slack tonight. He was not good enough. He was poor in possession. He was committing stupid fouls out of possession. And this whole idea of players having credit in the bank, I understand to some extent. But if we're looking at that game tonight, Højbjerg does deserve criticism because he's one of the reasons that we couldn't get a hold of that game in the middle of the park. I said it when the lineups came out. In Dembele, Højbjerg and Sissoko against Kovacic and Jorginho, there should only ever be one winner in that midfield battle. And there was, and it was the other team who won that. And when they have Kante to bring on to add to that midfield and we're already losing, we don't stand a chance in hell. But it's just like, going back to that United game, we beat them 6-1 in their own ground earlier in the season. And we were saying, oh yeah, we're going to win the league. And they were talking of sacking their manager. We're 11 points behind them, John.
I know, it's ridiculous.
11 points behind them.
Do you know what? Even when we won that game, a lot of fans were getting giddy saying we're going to win the league. And I was just like, for God's sake, calm down here. Like they were one of the worst teams on form in the league at that time. They were probably in about the top 3 of worst teams in the league, if you get my drift there. And they'd also had a man sent off. And yeah, we played well, but let's not get it twisted. It was like they were poor that day, and they were poor in the league. So I think this is a bit of a reality check for a lot of Spurs fans. I don't know. I still think we might, because things are so poor, paradoxically, we might fluke a cup. I think that's, that might be the silver line. What do you think?
See, that's the thing. Like, through the whole Pochettino era, the question people are asking is, would you rather take an FA Cup or a Champions League or a top 4 finish? And it was always, we want that top 4 finish because we want to build on what we have with Poch. Yeah. We want to get in the next season. We want to attract players over the summer. We want to do even better the next season and then get to the point where we can get an FA Cup and a Champions League finish. But right now with Jose, if you're asking me if I want a stinky League Cup or a top 4 finish, I'm taking that League Cup. Yeah, so because like how sad is that to say? And as much as I would like to finish in the top 4, the only way we can look back on this Mourinho era as being even slightly worth our while is if we come out of it with silverware, because we know he's not going to be a long-term manager. I'm going to come out here and say I can see him being gone in the next month if things don't change. As much as money as it is going to cost Daniel Levy, it's going to cost him a lot more money for out of the Champions League for 3 or 4 years. He may have to just take that hit where it hurts him the most in his pocket and get rid of Jose. I don't want him to go now. I will say that, but we need a trophy. Otherwise, this is not worth our while. He's alienating players. He's making the fans fall out of love with the club. He's playing horrible football. But if we win a trophy, I'd argue it's worth it. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's see if we can get that stinky cup. Fingers crossed. At this point, yeah. All right, Matt, good to talk to you again, mate. And we'll speak to you on the next show, hopefully, with some hopefully better news and better results. Fingers crossed, John. Take care, mate.